Well, on to another story which has dominated headlines today. The Home Office has confirmed that Olympic champion Mo Farah won't have his British citizenship rescinded, after he revealed he arrived in the UK illegally, assuming another child's identity, aged just 8 years old. The four-time Olympian shares his incredible story for the first time in a film airing tomorrow night called The Real Mo Farah, in which he says his name is actually Hussein Abdi Kahin, and talks about his traumatic experience being trafficked away from his mother in Somalia to work as a domestic slave in London for a family he didn't know.
From day one, the lady, what she did wasn't right. I wasn't treated as part of the family. I was always that kid who did everything. I don't know, more someone like who works for you, just, you know, that's your space, that's our space, this is what you do. If I wanted food in my mouth, my job was to look after those kids, shower them, cook for them, clean for them. And she said, if you ever want to see your family again, don't say anything.
Mo said he wanted to challenge public perceptions of trafficking and slavery with this story, and I really think that it's made that impact, and it actually makes him even more of a legend, if that is possible. Because, of course, you know, the story that he told in the past, that he came here with his mum and dad, even that, you know, and how this teacher that found him and found his love of running and nurtured him and brought him out of himself, but actually knowing that he was essentially a domestic slave for 3 years. He arrived here at 9, went to school when he was 12, barely spoke any English, but like we said, that teacher found him and brought him out of himself. And now here you have a man who can run 2 miles in 8 minutes, you know, can cover 21,000 metres in like an hour or something, 4 gold medals, how many other medals, bronze, silver, gold. I just think it makes his story even more incredible, everything he's overcome. I also think that if he wasn't Sir Mo Farah, if he was, you know, just any guy in any part of the country that didn't have a knighthood, that wasn't a national treasure, and I think we can say that he is, he would be facing deportation right now, and that is really sad.
I think, you know, in terms of, like, sort of celebrating him, it is incredible, because it's not just about what he's achieved against that backdrop. The stress of that secret as such.
For 30 years.
Yeah, for 30 years. Not that any of that negativity falls on him, but just simply knowing that there's an aspect of your life that isn't widely known. And I think we do talk a lot about the moment, about the difficult things in our life and the drag effect that can have on what we can achieve. But look what he's achieved. I mean, you can't think of somebody that's exceeded their start in life by more than Mo Farah.
It's hard enough succeeding in athletics or any sport, you know, to the absolute pinnacle. But the mental health challenges he must have been facing, living with that knowledge, the abuse, the trafficking, everything, you know, it's just extraordinary. It makes, as you say, his achievements even more remarkable.
Yeah, and I think what I found disturbing, I interviewed a charity today, Freedom from Torture, I think is the name of the organisation, and they were talking about how many others are in this situation that you never get to hear about. Trafficked over many, many years, you never hear the stories. Not everybody presumably turns their life around in the way that he's able to, and continue to live a really tricky and very uncomfortable and unhappy existence. He was 8, for goodness sake. The fact the Home Office said we're not going to rescind his citizenship, is anybody seriously thinking that they should, for goodness sake?
That was a worry of his. That was a worry he had.
That might happen.
That might happen.
And also the fact that it wasn't his name. You know, I mean, your name is such an important part of you. And actually, when you introduce yourself to somebody, even though he was 8, I mean, we all remember, you know, how you are when you first introduce yourself to your school friends and everything else. And I'm sure it got easier as it went along, but nevertheless, it was still in the back of his head.
His father was shot in Somalia. I mean, just when he was, I think, 4.
It is. Yeah. And what I think is incredible in this piece that you can, I think it's tomorrow night on BBC at 9 o'clock, is that at the end of the piece, he meets the real Mohammed Farah. And I mean, what a way to end that story. And also, he sees his mother again. You know, he goes back to Somaliland, I think, and sees some of his family. And another incredible part of the story, which I think is really important, is that because he became more well-known through his running in the Somali community in London, someone came up to him and gave him a tape. And on the tape was his mother singing to him. And then at the end, she says, you know, I would love to be in contact with you again, but I understand if it's problematic that you can't contact me, but I would love to hear from you.
Wow.
And then he found her again. It's just giving me chills. The whole thing is incredible. Absolutely
Incredible.